right, so we got New York City seeking 14,000 hotel rooms to shelter migrants through 2025 as housing costs set to surpass $2.3 billion with the B. This is just New York City. Meanwhile, we've got storm-ravaged Florida, with FEMA can't seem to get its act together and get the resources where it needs. But somehow, the illegals, they're getting all the resources. Yeah, does that seem reasonable? No, let's get into it. Here we go. Literally had a conversation this morning, a chat on our premiere, and a young man of 72, I believe he was 72 and his partner was 77, something like that. They were trying to outrun Hurricane Milton, I think it is, which landed last night in western Florida. And they were seeking shelter, and illegals were blocking the doorway. They couldn't get in, so they ended up hunkering down underneath like a sign from an ATM at a bank under 110-mile-an-hour winds. He said it was just absolutely terrifying. One of those examples of where when you bring in millions of people into the country, they got to go somewhere because they don't have the ability to work. And it's the same deal when people are running from a storm. They got to go somewhere. Well, our emergency systems are already just absolutely chock-a-block full because of the millions and millions of people that have come through the southern border and now the northern border. Here we are. Let's talk about New York a little bit, though. They need more room at the inn. That's something I always talk about. The inn is closed. There is no more room at the inn. New York City's use of hostels as emergency shelters to house migrants will continue for the foreseeable future. The Post has learned that the Department of Homeless Services is seeking a contract with hotels to provide a total of 14,000 rooms to shelter migrants at least through next year. Why are we doing this? What's the end game here? What is the dealio? This is just absolute insanity. We've got billions of dollars going to Israel. We've got billions of dollars going to Ukraine. We've got money going all over the place. And we've got Americans in this country that need resources. I mean, you've always got Americans that are like, don't have enough. I need more money for this. And social services are always begging for money. Why are we spending billions sending that overseas? Oh, Sean, because we're protecting our allies. Well, how about we reel that in a tad? I'm just saying, right? Yeah. Provide some billions here, not to hotel rooms for the migrants. City projects that spending on housing for migrants over the past 2 years and this fiscal year will surpass a staggering $2.3 billion. Much of it on rent paid to hotels in the Big Apple. Good for the hotels. What kind of shape are those hotels in afterwards? Not great, right? Not great. About 150 hotels are currently sheltering migrants, and total spending on migrant services over 3 years will be my eyes aren't great. I got contacts and I'm reading in a dark room, right? $5.76 billion over 3 years. $5.76 billion. New Yorkers, that is what you are spending on illegals. And you know what? So much of that is federal money. It's all of us spending that money. And by spending, I mean taken from our tax dollar. Why? Why are we doing this? How, in what world does this make any sense whatsoever? It doesn't. It just flat doesn't. It just doesn't. So the taxpayers can't pay for this indefinitely, said Nicole Giulianis, a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute think tank. So somebody's sitting down at a think tank looking at these numbers the same way I am, but they're just coming up with a slightly more eloquent way of verbalizing, this is not, you can't do this forever. Homie, don't play that game, right? No can do. Just, it's not feasible. And yet, federal government just keeps shoving this down our throat. Oh yeah, Customs and Border Protection, bring them on in, because that's what they've been mandated to do, right? You got Texas doing a little pushback, a little fight back, but the damage has already been done over the past 3.5 years and now just about 4 years. You've brought in so many people that they got to go somewhere. This isn't a thing where you can just, we tried, we gave it a good try. It's just not going to work out. Sorry, guys. Better luck next time. Can't do that with human beings, right? You just can't. So other countries do. The problem is we can't solve the world's issues. We should focus on our issues here in the United States. I mean, that's a no-brainer. So once we get all of America's problems squared away, take whatever residual you got left over and then send that to Israel, send that to Ukraine, send that to whomever. Oh, but Sean, they need our resources. Well, we need our resources here as well. So taxpayer can't pay for this indefinitely. Agreed. No, agreed. With Mayor Eric Adams under criminal indictment and his administration in disarray, Salinas said Governor Kathy Hochul should take control of managing the migrant crisis in the city. Good luck with that. I don't see that happening. I just don't. What are they going to do? They're going to kick everybody out? Oh, we're going to cut off funding? You guys are just going to have to go somewhere else. So then it's just like the homeless problem. You created it by creating a demand for it, right? You supplied that demand over and over. Here's a tent. Here's a clean needle. Here's everything you need but the drugs. And then when it becomes politically unacceptable, hey, our streets are lined with the homeless. This isn't a good look because I want to be president in 2028. That's Gersom Newsom in California. When that kind of thing happens, then all of a sudden, good Lord, we need to clean this up. This is terrible. We're at that point with the homeless crisis in New York City. Good Lord, we need to clean this up. We got to do something. All right. Yeah, here we are. We should stop using hotels as shelters by the end of the year. The same person said, well, okay, but where are you going to put them? What are you going to do with them? Where are you going to put them? City has 3 existing contracts with the New York City Hotel Association to work with its extensive network of hotels to voluntarily provide shelter space. What was happening to all these hotel rooms before the illegals came? Who was occupying them? Tourists? I mean, right? I mean, tourism is a huge, huge industry in New York City. So what happened when you displaced all those hotel rooms? Where'd everybody go? What happened? So are you losing out on way more in tax dollars also from lack of tourism? Now, I want to stay in a hotel where 7 out of 8 floors are dedicated to illegals. I mean, that just doesn't sound like a great idea to me, right? Nothing against anybody coming in from out of the country, but you've got some real issues going on, and we read about it all the time. These are not things that we even question anymore. It is what it is. This is the way it is. You've got a whole bunch of people that have come into the country that expect a massive handout. They want their $10,000 debit card. All those stories we've talked about, some true, some not true. But when you have this many people come across the southern border, come into the country, and they don't have work visas, and we haven't vetted them, you're going to get some bad apples, and you're going to get a whole bunch of people who are dependent upon our existing tax base to fund their bills, and they are very expensive. Not only do you have hotels, you've got food, you've got care, you've got, clothing, expenses. The list goes on and on and on. Total cost to house migrants per room per night is $352 per night, according to city data. That's an all-inclusive number. So every single night, all of the illegals that are in New York City, cha-ching, 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 per person, $352. How many people live on not a whole ton more of that their whole month? A lot. And here we are just cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Yep, we're making the world a better place. Are we? Not making New York City a better place. There are financial benefits, particularly to hotels in the outer boroughs that are not in tourist districts and have lower occupancy rates. Let's fill them up. All right. Genius idea. The city will fill all the rooms and pay a hefty sum to do so, providing a reliable revenue stream. The New York City Department of Homeless Services is seeking to continue the city sanctuary facility program by procuring a vendor who can assist in acquiring the use of large-scale commercial hotels and hotel management services to help address the current emergency, the agency said in its new solicitation. So they're looking for somebody to run their program because they need to go even larger scale than they're already at. So if you're in New York City and you're okay with this, I'd say keep voting for the folks you got in office because they're doing a splendid job according to your metrics. I question the amount of money being spent on all of this because it's unnecessary. What about the remain in Mexico principle? Yeah, what about that? Hey, we'll check out your request for immigration, but you got to remain in Mexico. Yeah, can't be here. Instead, we've gotten the opposite. And come on in. It's going to be great. It's going to be a huge party. Here's your $10,000 debit visa, all that good stuff, right? The Hotel Association will apply to oversee the new shelter contract. We will be filling in the request for proposal, he said. The Hotel Association's foundation is paid approximately $100,000 per month to administer 3 of its existing contracts with the city. Lot of money being spent here. Kind of makes you think, doesn't it? All those hands out. Got to grease those hands with. And we're not talking the folks that are looking for asylum in the United States. We're talking about the people that are just administering the programs. So with all that money being spent, who was the top guy? Who was the top guy who said, "Hey, this isn't sustainable. New York City cannot sustain doing this long term. We need to change up the southern border policy." Who said that? Mayor Eric Adams. What's he under indictment for? Yeah. Coincidence? I don't know. The only thing that could really top this off, and I've been talking about this as far as the situation in Township of Thornton and Village of Dalton. If you haven't been following that one, you've got a real wally banger there in South Chicago. You've got an absolute rogue mayor, super mayor. She's a supervisor of trustees in the in the Township of Thornton, and she's the mayor of the Village of Dalton. You've got a super mayor who has gone absolutely rogue. They're in court every single day. And the only thing that would be, provide more turbulence and shenanigans to that scenario, just like the New York City scenario, is if somehow they got tied to the Sean Puffy Combs, or Diddy, as he likes to go by. That whole sex scandal, prostitute thing, right? 784 dildos, 1,000 bottles of lube and baby oil that apparently it seems like was probably laced with a date rape drug that was topical. Rub it on people. They absolutely, lose their mind, stoned, and they're pliable at that point. Who knew, right? So the only way some of these stories could get even crazier is if you tie them to Diddy. All right. So I'm going to end this one because, you know what? That might happen. Make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell, all that good stuff. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.